Welcome to episode 3 of Eye on Horror. I'm one of your hosts, James J. Edwards, and with me, as always, is Jacob Davison. How you doing?
Doing good. Happy to be here yet again.
Right on. And this time from, I believe, Miami, we've got Jonathan Correa. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic in the city that Will Smith sang about that one time in the 90s. And let me tell you, it's very hot. I really don't like it. It's hot, it's crowded, and there's no like weird compounds nearby like last week when we were in Waco. So, you know, I guess there's beaches. People like beaches. Has there been, what are some good horror, real quick, name one good horror movie that's taken place on a beach. The first thing that comes to my head, Summer Party Massacre 3. What do you think?
Jaws.
Blood Beach.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a nice lightning round.
I'm just happy that Korea is in a hotel room instead of his van because we edited a lot of it out, but he was melting last time, and he has actually vowed that if he ever sees a dog locked in a car, he's smashing the window because he's lived it.
Oh yes. Let me tell you, folks, do not leave your dog in a car. It doesn't matter how hot it is or for how long. Last week's episode was an hour long. And my fingers were pruning from sweat. I almost had like a heat stroke in there. I had to open up the window a few times and ruin my audio take. But let me tell you, do not leave anything living in your car.
All right, let's talk about some news. It seems like every episode, Rob Zombie and Three from Hell is in the news. Well, this week we learned that Danny Trejo is back, and I think we know that Bill Moseley's back. I think it's just assumed that Sid Haig and Sherry Moon Zombie are going to be there. So it looks like he's rounding up all the usual suspects.
Yeah, and I think that would be interesting if this actually turned into a House of a Thousand Corpses and set movie, but with the plot of the usual suspects. Like, just think of Bill Moseley pretending to, Kevin Spacey it out and be Kaiser Sose at the end.
Well, it's kind of like House of a Thousand Corpses because they were trying to figure out who is Dr. Satan.
Yes. I wonder if Dr. Satan's going to make an appearance in Three from Hell.
Yeah, because that's the thing. He had a deleted scene in Devil's Rejects, but Zombie cut it because he felt it kind of took things too far out of the story. So, who knows? Maybe Dr. Satan returns.
Yeah.
Too far out of the story of House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah.
in Devil's Rejects.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes a little more sense. It's a little more grounded of a movie. Devil's Rejects, that's what makes it so effective, is that it was grounded in reality.
Yeah.
Whereas House of a Thousand Corpses was just a surreal fever dream.
Mm-hmm. House of a Thousand Corpses was a really long music video, basically.
Yes.
And it worked really well.
That's a good way to look at it. Also in the news, we got a trailer for Meg, which, I'm going to be honest, I was a little disappointed with the trailer. I usually don't watch trailers, and this is kind of one of the reasons why. There's a couple of great images in it. The one where the little girl the shark swims up to the glass while the little girl's right there, and it's just this massive shark. That's pretty cool. And then the overhead scene where the shark's swimming through all of the paddle borders and stuff, that's a pretty memorable image as well. But for the most part, it's kind of looking like just another big dumb monster movie. I think I wanted Jaws, and it's looking like Piranha.
Was it just me, or was that trailer really fucking long? Like, that was a long trailer, and yet...
It was a long trailer.
Like, that was over 2 minutes long, that trailer, and not a lot happened in it. Like, we get the gist of it pretty quick. Hey, it's a big fucking shark, and we got Jason Statham in a non-Expendables movie for once. And, there you go. But then they continue to just do that for 2 minutes. Like, there was nothing that really, like you said, there was some good imagery, but nothing that really, god damn it, I'm going to say it, hooked me.
The poster art for that has been more intriguing than that trailer. Like, there's the one where there's like a scuba diver swimming, and then there's like a regular sized great white behind him that's about to eat him, and then there's the Meg behind that shark that is a better advertisement for Meg than that trailer was.
I was gonna say, like, I'm in the minority here, but I like the trailer, and I feel like it didn't give away too much while giving just enough to kind of hook people in. Because, it's definitely not going to be Jaws, but yeah, actually, I guess I'd say I'm kind of drawn more to Deep Blue Sea, because like the whole science team and all that. And also, like, a few other people caught my attention, like Rainn Wilson is in the movie, which caught me off guard.
Yeah, he has to keep up with John Krasinski now.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll be getting into that. We'll be getting into that.
Yeah, we will.
First of all,
we absolutely will be.
First of all, no, he doesn't. Rainn Wilson already won because he's Mud in Star Trek Discovery. So, checkpoint.
And
wait, what?
Speaking of House of a Thousand Corpses, Rainn Wilson.
Yeah,
Merman.
Fish boy. Yeah, Merman.
But yeah, if you're into Star Trek and haven't watched Discovery, Rainn Wilson's pretty awesome in it, and this is coming from someone who never really got his whole thing.
Yeah, I didn't know he was in that.
Yeah, he plays Mud. If you watch,
like a character named Mud or like sentient Mud.
No, like it's a character from the original series. There's the episode's called like Mud's Women or something. Basically, in the original series, he was a space pimp, I believe. It's been a while since I've watched the original series, but in the original, I believe he was a space pimp. So there's one trailer where you get to catch a glimpse of him where he does this, "I am Mud," and it's like, but that's about it.
Sentient Mud sounds like one of the really dumb monsters from the Dungeons and Dragons monster manual, like gelatinous cube, green slime, sentient mud.
Man,
I know you guys didn't play Dungeons and Dragons. Sorry.
Well, we're getting a little off topic. But yeah, so I'm definitely going to see the Meg in theaters.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's going to be the only way to see it. It's kind of like Pacific Rim or Rampage, which we'll also get into. Any giant monster movie you want on a giant screen.
Now, speaking of monster movies, have you guys heard that Neil Blomkamp's Oak Studios is actually moving forward with their first feature length right now?
Oh, sweet.
For those of you who don't know what Oak Studios is, it's essentially Neil Blomkamp, of District 9, Chappie, and Elysium fame, said, fuck the Hollywood system, we're going to make our own films for our fans. So first, what they did was they set up the studio, they've made a few short films, and they're actually holding a mini film festival on Twitch, which is either happening soon. I don't have the full details on me right now, but definitely look into it. They've made 5 shorts that they funded themselves, and from there they wanted to start involving the fans with crowdfunding. So it was either to make sequel shorts or to adapt them into feature lengths. And what they decided to do was to adapt one of their early shorts called Firebase into a feature length. Without giving too much away with the plot of Firebase, is a Vietnam short that is essentially it's kind of like a Predator in Vietnam, but with very Blomkampiness to it. So it's really dope. And the idea of them turning it into a feature without, a whole lot of people chiming in and just letting these filmmakers do their thing is amazing. But the real kicker is the actual fundraising campaign themselves. There's no bells or whistles with it. If you contribute, you get access to behind-the-scenes updates. You get early access to the movie before other people. That's about it. There's no pay $20 and you get a t-shirt, pay $50 and you get a poster. Neil Blomkamp and his company are dedicated to putting all of those dollars onto the screen, which for me as someone who is, working in the industry, that's awesome. I've been a part of a lot of crowdfunding projects where most of what we've raised went towards sending people a copy of the script that they never read, or sending them, a bunch of stuff that just collects dust and is worth nothing. But it ate up almost all the money that we made for the project. So seeing them see the importance of where the money should go is very refreshing and I think awesome.
Now, are these going to actually be released to non-donators? I mean, these movies they're going to be real movies, right? You're going to be able to see them either on VOD or in theaters. He's not just making these movies for the investors.
Right, exactly. And they do state that at the bottom of it, where if you're a backer, Oak Studios does hold the right to sell that film to others outside of the backers for monetary gain. which they said, to be honest, the monetary gain is going to go towards making more movies. It's very much so like nonprofit putting everything back into it. But yes, so if you don't back it, you will be able to see it at some point. You're probably on rental, VOD, Twitch, YouTube. Like, they're very into the digital platforms, so it'll probably end up somewhere on there. But people who back it get to see it first, and probably much sooner than those who don't.
That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, it's kind of like a new business model for, it's not really Kickstarter. I mean, it's close,
right. But
like you said, Kickstarter is so much, we'll send you a T-shirt, we'll send you a copy of the DVD, we'll send, there's so much. I've always thought that there's so much extra effort that is not filmmaking.
Yeah.
That is kind of. I hesitate to use the term wasted because it's not, because you're fulfilling your duty, but like you said, it's not going up on screen. It's going into postage. It's going into merchandise. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
I've been watching his YouTube channel for a while, and it is amazing, just what he's been able to do on his own with some of those shorts. Like the last one I saw. I forget the name, but it was that one on the space station with the hand mutant. Like that one blew me away, and just really goes to show his ingenuity, because the whole thing with Blomkamp was he started off making very cheaply made science fiction shorts in South Africa, and even with like next to no budget, the man knows his special effects and practical effects and how to make something look outstanding. Like the whole thing with District 9 was originally he was going to do a movie version of Halo, and when that fell through, he used the available materials to make District 9. And so the man is versatile, and he's so creative. He deserves to make more stuff.
And it's tough because at a certain point, you have enough people putting in large amounts of money. Of course, they're going to have some form of sway. That's just how it goes. So to see him kind of be able to be unfiltered and be back at that, because the original short for District 9 was amazing, and you could easily see why Peter Jackson brought him on to do that failed Halo movie. But to see him kind of back at his original form, especially with it is kind of, you can see how it happened or how he got there with him trying to get his Alien film off the ground, and then all of a sudden all the turmoil that went with that, and then ultimately being shut down for Covenant to come out. Like, it's pretty easy to see why he would say after that in Chappie, fuck the studios, I want to make my own shit again, and it's going to be kick-ass, and I want everyone to be a part of it. And the thing that I love the most is if you go to their website, and that's where you'll donate, get the more information, you'll see some of these shorts, get some merch, whatever. When you go to the website, they said, we're making a fire-based movie no matter what. So if we only make $40, it's going to be a fire-based cat film. If we if we raise $100 million, we're making a fucking trilogy. And it's like, hell yeah.
Do we have any more news, or can we get right into new releases?
That's about all I want to talk about news-wise, to be honest. I'm down to...
okay.
Because guess what? Fun fact, I actually went out to the movie theaters and saw not one, but 2 movies in the last 2 weeks.
Let's crack into some new releases, and this one's not really new because we do one of these episodes every 2 weeks, and this one came out between episodes, so hopefully everyone listening has seen it, because you all need to see A Quiet Place. I loved A Quiet Place. I believe it's a masterpiece. It's my number 1 movie of the year so far. And I know that the concept of, them sign language, completely silent movie, which it isn't. There's a lot of sound design in it. Rumbles, squeaks, little things, it's not silent. But you think that it'd be distracting seeing that with a big crowded theater. But in reality, it's the movie is so engaging that even a full theater is just silent. I was seeing people. I've seen it twice. I saw the press screening, then I went to an actual paid screening, and coming out of the paid screening, I saw people leaving with 3/4 full bags of popcorn because I don't know if they were afraid to make too much noise eating it, or if they just got so wrapped up in the movie. But you don't really have to worry about noise so much because the movie grabs you and doesn't let go. It's an experience. You see it in a theater. That's my 2 cents.
And I gotta say, it was amazing because it was genuinely probably the most quiet movie screening I've been to in a long time. Because like nowadays you go to a theater and like somebody's texting or somebody's talking with their friends or somebody's talking to the screen. But no, when I went, like, nobody took out their phones, nobody spoke, everybody was so quiet, it was astounding, because we were just all so tense and just, like, so glued to the screen. It was, just a very rare feat nowadays.
There was one scene, and not to spoil it, and you'll know the scene when she's going down the stairs. That scene, I was watching it, and I had my hand over my mouth, and then I glanced at the girl next to me who I didn't know, and she was watching it the same way with her hand over her mouth. It's just there's a lot of it's just a very tense movie, and there's a collective intensity in the theater when you see it with a full theater. So see it this weekend if you can before the crowds start to taper off, because it's a full theater. I don't know if it'll have the same. I saw some people on the iHorror fans board talking about how, they've already found a torrent for it and they're watching it on their couch. I'm like, you're not really seeing A Quiet Place if you're not getting that collective, silent intensity of the movie theater experience. But
yeah, it's definitely a theater movie.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way a few years ago. I haven't seen A Quiet Place yet, but from what you're talking about, it sounds exactly what I was saying to people when It Follows came out. And before it went wide, I was telling people, you got to see this in theaters. There's an intensity to a film that builds suspense and builds terror like that can only be experienced in a group. Like, it's fun to watch those movies on your own or in a small group on your couch, but no, support horror, go out to theaters and experience it, or just to get the entertainment of seeing a stranger cry because of a movie. In
It Follows I thought was a big screen movie because they use so much of the frame. Like, you need to see it on a big screen because it's almost like, especially when, the It would follow, that's no spoiler because it's called It Follows. But they would show like this big courtyard, and it's almost like a Where's Waldo? Which of these, people is the It that's going to come, walking at you? So
yeah, worst game of Where's Waldo ever.
But all of the Paranormal Activity movies that I've seen them all in theaters, and it's kind of the same way. There's like this electricity about those about a theater, especially those movies, because those are the epitome of the it's coming, you just don't know when kind of a thing, and just the anticipation of an entire theater waiting for it. Which always is followed by the uncomfortable laughter once it does happen,
Yeah, that.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so something that opens this week that that I may be the only. Did you see Truth or Dare, Jacob?
Wait, is that out yet?
No, it comes out this week. I just didn't know if you had seen in advance. I saw Truth or Dare last night. And it's exactly the movie you think it is.
Oh, I think it is? Because I'm pretty sure I had a few bitchy things to say about it.
And you are completely right. It's a dumb movie. It's like they're trying to take the, that 90s teen, Scream urban legend and mixing it with like the Final Destination or It Follows supernatural element. And it is, it's pretty bad. It's a well-made movie. I mean, Jeff Wadlow knows, he's the director. He did Cry Wolf.
Oh, really?
Really?
He also did Kick-Ass 2.
Oh,
I mean, really? That was him?
He's been around the block. He knows his way around making, and it's a well-made movie. It's just there are plot points that are inconsistent. And it's not scary. That's actually the biggest issue with it.
So yeah, just give us a quick rundown. So the movie basically involves these kids doing a game of Truth or Dare, but like it's haunted.
What it is these kids go to Mexico and they meet this stranger who says, "Hey, I got a place we can party," because the bar's closing. So they go out to this old rundown mission. And let's play Truth or Dare. So they play Truth, and it starts out with, I dare you two to make out. I dare you to give him a lap dance. I do, all this stuff. And at one point they asked the guy, and this is in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything. They asked the stranger who brings them there. They go, because he basically picked up on one of the girls. And they say, "What are your intentions with our friend?" And he goes, "Well, and he has to tell the truth because he knows the game they're playing." And he says, "Well, because I knew that I could trick her into bringing her friends out here, and I'm cool with other people dying if I get to live." So, and that's kind of like the gut punch, and you're like, okay, things got interesting, and it's all downhill from there. Because the game is actually real. Like, these people go back to their regular lives, and they'll see people, and you've probably seen the screenshots or even in the trailer of the people with that big, prosthetic smile. They start seeing those people around in their lives, and they'll say, "Truth or dare." And then, and they figured out, they're like, okay, let's just all say truth and tell the truth. But then they figured out that the game isn't played. If they get 2 truths in a row, the next person has to do dare. And the questions they ask are things, like that betray secrets that they're keeping. And the dares that they're asked to do are, like, another thing that's in the trailer that he said, one of the dares is, I dare you to break this other girl's hand. So the dares are things that are like, real brutal and violent things, and the truths are things that are giving away their secrets that they don't know about each other. So the stakes are pretty high in that regard, but it's just kind of it's a pretty silly movie.
I can't wait for the spin-off when Blumhouse presents Red Rover. Red Rover. Group of teens go to Canada on vacation when a drunk Canuck brings them to his cabin and says, "Well, now the game has just got real. Red Rover, send your life on over."
That's the other that's the other thing I thought was interesting about it, is that, and I actually asked the rep, as when you're leaving these press screenings, they ask for your reaction, and I actually asked the rep, I'm like, "So is this called Blumhouse's Truth or Dare or Truth or Dare?" And he said that they want us to call it Blumhouse Truth or Dare. So this seems like a curious choice for Blumhouse to hang their name above the title on.
Well, I think with that, it sounds more like a PR stunt, because it's like, all right, we just killed it with Get Out, and even though John didn't like it, a lot of people liked Happy Death Day, so their name's going really well for right now. So how else do you raise up, a dud? By saying, "Hey, remember, we're the people that did all this cool shit. Forgive us for this time, but you should still see it so we can keep making more cool shit."
That might be. They may be trying to raise its stock, so to speak, by throwing their name. I didn't think of that. And it probably will work. I imagine people are going to go see it. They should see A Quiet Place again, but they'll probably go see Truth or Dare. But also opening this week, and I know Korea's been waiting for this one, Rampage.
Fuck yes. I'm so excited, like, more so every day.
I'm pretty excited for this one, too.
Like I said, Truth or Dare is the movie you think it is. Rampage is, too, but Rampage, it swings the complete other way. It is, I can't really say it's good.
I don't want it to be good. I want it to be fun.
I just want to be a fun giant monster movie where The Rock fights giant monsters.
Yeah. And that's what it is. That's totally what it. We're talking off mic, and the drunk Korea is gonna love Rampage. It is. You've got. When the monsters are on screen fighting, the ape, the alligator, and the wolf, it is just a blast. And now, you guys know in Skull Island how it seemed like Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson were in a different movie.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Rampage feels like on the scenes that The Rock is in, along with he makes friends with not makes friends with, he has this doctor who has the cure to this. What it is he's a primatologist, and his best friend,
George the Ape,
yes, is this big albino ape. And this all of this research that this company that's headed by Milan Ackerman, their research is going on this space station.
Wait. There's a fucking space station in this movie?
No spoilers, because this is all before it actually says Rampage.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a space station that gets destroyed in the first 2 minutes. And the woman who escapes the space station is trying to get down to Earth with the research, and her capsule blows up, and the research gets spattered into different places, and one happens to be George's enclosure. So he he grows and becomes more aggressive and stronger and all. And then another one a wolf gets, and another one an alligator gets, and that's how the three monsters are created. But the woman who has the cure to this is Naomi Harris, and her and The Rock, they're like in a different movie it's like they don't realize they're in a monster movie, which is weird because you think of all people in this, The Rock should be the ham. He should be the guy who, but really, Jeffrey Dean Morgan knows exactly what movie he's in, and he's perfect. Mylon Ackerman's character is, I feel like she's pretty bad in it, but I feel like she looked at the script and said, "There's no way," because we've seen her be good and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like she looked at it and saw the script and was like, "There's no way I'm selling these lines, so I'm just gonna go for it all out." And she's total camp, and it is. I mean, it's a big dumb monster movie, and you know the last 20 minutes are a lot of fun, and it's especially fun because as someone who played the old vintage arcade game, the last 20 minutes when they converge. Chicago is the city that they are rampaging. And there are some helicopter, drone shots of these monsters climbing up buildings that it totally brought me back to climbing the buildings in the old, 2D arcade game. It was really funny. There's a lot of throwbacks to the old arcade game. So it's a lot of fun. It's I think I like it better than Pacific Rim 2. Yeah, I know that's not exactly a ringing endorsement, but
it says a little bit of something. How was my boy Big Dick Richie, Joe Manganiello, in that?
Oh, you know what? I don't want to spoil it for you, but just know that I'm surprised he got such top billing.
Really? Like he's not used much, or?
Again, I don't want to spoil it, but no, he's not. He's underutilized, and you'll know when you see it. You'll know when you see it.
That's so
exactly
sad.
I'm
a huge fan of his, and every time he pops up in something, he always steals the show. So that's sad to hear that they're underutilizing him. I mean,
yeah, not this time.
You'd think after Magic Mike XXL, he'd be in like everything now, but.
Well, and how would you say the effects for the monsters were?
Oh, they're great. Yeah, I love they used a guy. His name's Jason Lyles, and he is he's this huge 6'9", guy that that he's, and it looks, actually looking at his IMDb, it looks like he has a whole lot of actually he played the Crooked Man's shadow in The Conjuring 2, which is kind of cool. But yeah, he was Ryuk in Death Note, which is cool because I thought that was
the Netflix one.
Yes, which is weird because I mean that was Willem Dafoe, but I guess maybe he was the body and Willem Dafoe was the head.
Yeah,
because the head was absolutely Willem Dafoe. But his credits are all like monster, creature. So he's one of those Javier Botet kind of guys, I guess. But he sells it. He's a good George. I don't know if they had actual real mocap doing the wolf and the alligator, because the wolf looked like a real dog when it was running. But of course, like they say in the trailer, of course the wolf flies. The Rock has a bunch of great one-liners like that.
Nice.
Like just where he kind of realizes the ridiculousness of the he's like, oh, of course the wolf flies, or he's like, you've got to be kidding me, stuff like that.
Pulling a treat, Williams.
Yeah, yes, yeah. But it's a fun movie. It's not, it's forgettable. I mean, it'll probably be, it'll be out of theaters probably pretty quickly, but drunk Korea will love it.
Yes, and by that I mean it's the type of movie I go on a Tuesday midday with a few drinks in my jacket and, just let the dumbness wave over me in complete and utter ignorant bliss.
Another one that I saw that I think also opens this week, and this one, Jacob, you might have seen because I think they showed it at the Arrow. You Were Never Really Here?
Well, I didn't actually get to watch it, but yeah, we did do a screening.
Yeah, I saw that you with Lynn Ramsey there, right?
Yeah, she was there.
It's the new movie from Lynn Ramsey, who did We Need to Talk About Kevin.
Right.
And it stars Joaquin Phoenix as this veteran who suffers from PTSD, and basically he's kind of like a fixer. He goes he gets these jobs. Not really a hitman, but he's kind of like a fixer. He just does odd jobs for people who need seedy stuff done, and the most of the movie he gets hired by a senator whose daughter has been kidnapped and put into sex slavery, and he has been hired to get her back. And it is, he goes through, there's way more to it than that. But it's a really dark movie. It's a really depressing movie. It's a really brutal movie. But it's weird because my wife went to the screening with me, and there's one scene in it where as we were leaving, she's all, that scene was really beautiful. And I'm like, well, the whole movie kind of has this dreadful beauty to it. It's a really same thing with We Need to Talk About Kevin. It's a striking movie, and it kind of makes you look at things that you don't want to see, which I think, that might be something that Lynn Ramsey does with her movies, because those are the only two of hers that I've seen, or I don't know what else she's done. But We Need to Talk About Kevin I love, and You Were Never Really Here there's a lot of little stuff. It's weird because it's put together in kind of the same way as We Need to Talk About Kevin, where it'll jump around time-wise, and you'll get like little flashbacks or little imaginary things. And I kind of want to see it again to see if all of the puzzle pieces come together into what you ultimately get, if that makes any sense. Because I feel like as a filmmaker, she probably did, put everything. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that I'll catch on a second view that I'll be like, oh yeah, that kind of a thing. So, but it's a pretty well made movie, and it's kind of fringe horror, I guess, because there's a lot of violence, a lot of brutality, a lot of blood, but it's not, there's nothing really supernatural about it.
Well, it doesn't need to be supernatural, and just it from what I've heard, it does sound like it's a horrifying movie.
Yes. Oh yeah. It's very brutally violent, but the violence is very honest. It's I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm looking at the poster right now, and it's on the poster. He's holding a hammer. That's kind of his MO. He likes to beat people with a hammer. So there's a little bit of old boy going on with it. So that's You Were Never Really Here. I feel like I see so many damn movies. I monopolize this part of the podcast. What have you guys seen?
I saw Ready Player One, which was, I don't think it was a great movie, but you know what? It was fun as hell.
Yeah.
And one of my biggest concerns with the movie was all the pop culture references, that it would become too reliant on it or they'd become too distracting. But they actually flowed pretty well. Don't get me wrong, that end battle scene, spotting, Battletoads and like 30 other things from my childhood was pretty mind-blowing and awesome. And also, for all those who, like me, were concerned that they weren't going to utilize Iron Giant properly or in a great way, trust me, they do him justice.
Yeah.
But it's a fun movie.
And he's not just an Easter egg, he's a plot point.
Yeah, no, it's great. And not only that, but the scene James was talking about in the last episode, the horror-related scene, without giving away spoilers, is probably one of the funniest things I've seen all year. Yeah. Like, I was in stitches that entire time. And that's one of the things that surprised me about that film, is that a lot of these moments they weren't things that we haven't seen before, but they were just put together in such a fun way. Like, whether it's characters that we've seen before, plot points that we've seen before, just general overall storytelling. It's all been done before. But you know what? It was done in a nice, fast-paced, fun package that I think a lot of people are enjoying. It's definitely doing well in the box office right now. That's for certain. The other film I saw, which was kind of on the opposite spectrum in almost every way, was Unsane. James, you talked about that in one of the previous episodes, right?
Yeah.
A little bit.
I And I think we agree.
Yeah.
On just about every point.
Well, my whole thing with Unsane, first of all, a lot of people are praising this movie for being shot on an iPhone, which is cool. My whole thing is you can shoot on an iPhone and not have it look like it was shot on an iPhone. Tangerine did it where they shot it on an iPhone, but they did enough work in post, color grading and everything where it looked really nice and very cinematic. Unsane, it could have benefited from a few of those shots staying, very gray and very flat, very like jittery, like you're shooting it on a fucking phone. But for the most part, it was very distracting because first of all, I was in a big theater all by myself on Easter Sunday at like 10 p.m. in a random ass, I think it was on the Mississippi border when I saw it. But I was by myself, and even I was like sitting there distracted by the guy on his phone, which was almost me a couple of times because it went off, and I was very tempted to take it because I was just so bored. But the thing is, everything else about that film is great. The acting's fantastic. The story is very interesting, I thought. I had a little bit of a problem with what they did with Juno Temple's character, especially in the third act. I thought that she was it's like she was in a different, you say it a lot, she's in a different movie. Her character was a bit too cartoonish with her stuff. Yeah. And then they do something to her character in the third act that I was like, that's a bit problematic in a lot of ways. But man, that guy that got to play her stalker, wow. Yeah. That guy nailed. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he nailed it.
Joshua Leonard.
Joshua Leonard? Yeah.
He's from the Blair Witch Project.
The original?
Yeah, he's the first guy to disappear in the Blair Witch Project. He's Josh, the guy with the long hair.
No way.
That's Joshua Leonard.
Dude, he was so good in Unsane. Like him and the lead
really good
actress. Both of them, they both get to the point where you just hate them and they're so grating. But the thing is that like even though that you hate them at a lot of different points, it's because they're very well rounded and they're very they're complete characters. And yeah, that's I think the thing that upsets me the most about Unsane is that there is a good movie in there, but the gimmick, and it's not even a gimmick. Soderbergh really loves shooting stuff on iPhone, but it's just that one aspect of it really takes away. And it should be praised because the film was made for under 1.5 million, I believe. It was shot in 10 days. Like, it was made for almost nothing and shot super quick. Like, we should be praising it for that. But at the same time, if you're going to shoot on iPhone, just try to make it not look so much like a YouTube video or a film student, film school student, film.
See, you can also look at it the other way and say, like, if any of the three of us had an iPhone and got 1.5 million, what could we do?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of possibilities there.
I mean, I agree with you. There is a good movie in Unsane, but Unsane isn't it. I mean, I'm kind of curious to watch it on, I hate saying it, but I want to watch it on a computer screen because I have a feeling that the big screen of a theater betrays its style. I think it might actually be more effective if you watched it, on like a computer, not even a TV, on a computer or even an iPad maybe. I think that that iPhone style might fit better for a small screen.
Yeah, I would honestly love to give it another shot like that. Like I said, I
did give it another shot. I actually did go. Thanks, MoviePass. I did go and see Unsane a second time, and I stand by my initial, which is pretty much everything that you said. I agree with. I also gave Annihilation a second chance, and I stand by everything I said on that before. The first 3/4 of it I love, and I think it goes off the rails for the ending, which is pretty much what I said 2 episodes ago. So
see, that's not fair. I haven't even seen it a first time, so you got to stop that.
That's worth seeing. You should see it. It's definitely worth seeing.
It was definitely worth seeing, especially in theaters, just because of the sound and visuals. Like, that's something worth seeing in a theater experience.
Yeah, it's a spectacle.
Yeah,
is what it is. So, what about you, Jake? Have you seen anything good?
Okay, well, I caught that movie Terrifier from Dread Central Presents.
Yeah.
You know, the one
What'd you think?
with the crazy clown.
Yep. The crazy clown that follows Korea on Twitter.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, he does.
God. Yeah, Art the Clown. Okay, so... Yeah, no, like, that was the thing. Like, I was thinking about it for a while, and then I actually had a nightmare about Art the Clown, so I figured I got to get this over with. So I rented it digitally and gave it a watch, and yeah, it was all right. You know, it was very. I feel like it was a very typical type of slasher. You know, with just this crazy demon clown thing. I mean, it was very brutal and over the top, and kind of like a Hatchet type of way. Yeah, it had some pretty absurd kills, and yeah, it just kind of fell into a lot of. That's the thing, like, you know, it was definitely a throwback to kind of sleazier and gory slashers from the early '80s, but also kind of hit a lot of the trip falls. You know, there's a lot of cliches there, but yeah, I mean, it was worth a watch. It was, and yeah, the Art the Clown guy is really creepy, and the practical effects with him is pretty good. So yeah, it was good.
There's not really a story to it. It is just, seriously, is just almost an excuse to have a creepy clown and a bunch of cool practical effects. And I mean, and it is entertaining as hell. But yeah, it's not it's basically just a couple girls running from a psycho clown and him carving up anything that gets in his way. So yeah, I enjoyed Terrifier. It was a good time.
Yeah, no, it was pretty neat. And also, I found out that apparently the character Art the Clown has popped up in a couple other things the director did. Like, he first showed up in like an anthology and like a short film. So it is kind of interesting that they were able to, you know, kind of build that up so that they could do an entire feature around the character.
Well, the anthology All Hallows Eve from a few years
that's
back.
the one.
Those are all of the shorts in that involve Art the Clown, and one of them is actually called Terrifier. So I think they expanded that one out, which is cool because Art is, I mean, you know, clowns, that ticks a box for a lot of people. So, you know, let's exploit it. And the guy who plays Art in Terrifier is pretty good at what he does.
Dude gave a real good creepy performance. But yeah, I just felt the movie didn't have a whole lot of substance otherwise. But yeah, I mean, it was worth a watch.
I don't think that its point was to. It wasn't trying to be Silence of the Lambs. It was trying to be the Wizard of Gore.
Right.
So, which is cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to subgenre of the bye week. Right, Jacob?
Yep. It's that time of the bye week. Just an interesting term to use. But anyway, so with Friday the 13th coming up, we figured we'd cover one of the more perennial subgenres of horror, the slasher movie. Kind of going off of Terrifier, that, you know, just, it's out of all the subgenres, I feel like slasher movies are one of the most consistent, you know, from from the past to the present.
Slasher movies are easily my favorite subgenre. I have a soft spot for them. I love them. And it's weird because they are the most formulaic. They're the most cookie cutter. You know what is going to happen when you hit play, but they're so much fun. You know, they're I don't know, there's just something about a killer stalking kids and cutting their heads off that is just fun to watch.
A killer with a tragic story, of course.
Yeah, yes.
Sometimes, not all the time, but yeah, I think that's the thing, though, is that the slasher movies really gave horror an identity and faces, especially in like the 70s and 80s, because especially the 80s, because, you know, like, that was when so many icons of horror popped out of that specific subgenre. You got Jason, you got Freddy, I mean, it was more 70s, but Leatherface and Michael Myers, like, all kind of sprung from the same lot. And more recently, you get characters like Art the Clown and Victor Crowley and Leslie Vernon. So
yeah, Ghostface.
Oh yeah, and Ghostface, 90s. Yeah, like, every decade has its iconic slashers, and, you know, it's just that's the genre, and that's the power of that subgenre.
Well, I think especially slasher more than any other horror genre. Well, I wouldn't say more than any other, but more so than most, it's very deeply rooted in just basic human storytelling. It's cut and dry, good versus evil. It's got the iconography of whether it's the killer's masks or their weapons. You can identify, like, if I ask you what's Jason's weapon of choice, you're going to tell me it's a machete. If I ask you Freddy's, you're going to tell me it's the glove. Like, there's an iconography behind it, and they've kind of, one of the reasons why they have this lasting power, where we still see even kids today dressing up as Freddy for Halloween 30 years later, is due to that basic need for that, and they kind of have become like modern mythology, these boogeymen, these creatures. So instead of us talking about Jason and the Agronauts, we're talking about Freddy and the Dream Warriors, which I think is pretty awesome. So, I mean, yeah, there's definitely a lot of Joseph Campbell, mythological story structures of good versus evil, and the hero's journey for some of them with the final girl. It's a more condensed and simplified with, as a lot of people explain it, Freudianism. Oh my God, I'm just regurgitating 4 years worth of college words here. but when it comes down to it, the big words are saying there's something universal there, and that's why I always found it funny when people say, "Oh, it's just a killer chasing kids." It's like, yeah, it's an excuse to see some blood and tits, but you know what? At the end of the day, it is feeding to the most basic human storytelling elements, and that's why a lot of people really cling on to those.
Well, and also the fact that the killers are so colorful. I mean, they have become icons, and there's a reason why we remember Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, the true slasher icons. I mean, how many of them popped up in Ready Player One just in backgrounds? I mean, Freddy, Jason, Chucky, just because they are recognizable characters. They are literally avatars.
And going back on it, it's why I'm such a huge fan of Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, which had this great collector's edition set from Scream Factory recently, because, definitely, Scream did a good job in kind of deconstructing slasher tropes, but I'm just such a huge fan of Behind the Mask because it was a combination of a deconstruction and reconstruction of the subgenre with, straight from the horse's mouth, because the entire movie is about a dude named Leslie Vernon who wants to be the next Jason or Michael. And he goes through the steps, and he gives kind of the play-by-play of how he not only wants to do it, but how he needs to do it in order to become an icon. And and that's the thing, just the subgenre became so beloved that we've picked it apart, examined it, unlocked it, and looked at it in every possible angle. So, it is so integral to the genre now that, we've looked at it and tried to use it in so many different ways aside from just the usual formulas. And
it's been deconstructed and reconstructed so many times. Like even movies that you don't consider to be slasher movies, Cabin in the Woods, they will use the archetypes. You had the virgin, the slut, the jock, the brain, and the stoner.
Yeah,
those are slasher movie tropes. I mean there's your roster. It's kind of Scooby-Doo to think about it, but everything is so recognizable. And this will transition to our topic here, but just the fact that Friday the 13th is such a huge cultural phenomenon that now when people think about horror movies, they think of a killer in the woods chasing camp counselors. That has become a trope that is used. It's used, abused, and parodied because it's recognizable.
Oh, and speaking of parodies, I would also like to bring up one of my personal favorite kind of horror parody satires from the last few years, Dude Bro Party Massacre 3 by 5 Second Films. Like the first, a friend of mine best described it as the airplane for horror movies because of just like how it does the humor and just such rapid fire, and it can get pretty surreal and weird, but I love it because it's basically like at the fake third movie in a fake slasher franchise from the 80s, and instead of a sorority, it's about like this super masculine like dude bro fraternity that keeps on getting like attacked by this slasher named Motherface, who was like a former sorority house mother that they accidentally disfigured in a panty raid gone wrong. That's the actual premise, and it is incredible, just how funny it is, and like doing all that and like kind of subverting archetypes and stuff, because these aren't like sexy college girls. It's like a bunch of like drunk dude bros who are the targets in this one, and it's just one of my favorite horror comedies, and just in general like slasher parodies from the last few years.
I love the name Motherface.
Yeah, because she was the house mother of the sorority they accidentally burned down during a panty raid.
That's brilliant.
Personally, my favorite has to be Canada's own My Bloody Valentine. The original.
Oh, yeah.
If you ever get a chance to find that out-of-print Blu-ray from Lionsgate that has the extra gore bits put in, it's a hell of a fun movie. And I even like the 3D remake with, who was it? Jensen Ackles from Supernatural was in it. That was a great theater movie. Seeing people, like when Tom Atkins is pointing the shotgun across the screen, and he's going from left to right, and you see people go, "Huh," like across. You know, it was fun, cheesy 3D, but I mean, those movies, they had good lore. You know, you could tell they were going for like a Terror Train, prom night type story, but you know, the iconography there is simply just a man dressed up as a miner with an axe, you know?
Yeah, the gas mask look, it was really cool. Like, I rewatched My Bloody Valentine at the Egyptian Theater for a Valentine's show.
I wanted to go to that double feature so bad. I'm so jealous. What was it with Jacob? It was My Bloody Valentine and...
A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge.
One of my favorite ones, not because it was good, but, you know, that movie's just so amazing in how they got the slasher film wrong while the slasher film was still being made, and ended up making one of the gayest movies of all time. And it's just so incredible because of it. And if you see any interviews of them talking about it, like the what was it, the Elm Street Legacy, that giant long documentary that was made not too long ago, when they talk about that, boy, like half the cast and crew were like, we had no idea it was going that route.
It's funny because you say that, and I remember seeing Nightmare on Elm Street 2 in theaters on opening night, and I was probably 15, you know, and I remember watching it, and you know, I was enjoying it, but I didn't, the homosexual aspect of it didn't even faze me. I didn't even hit me, and then I hadn't seen it for years. In fact, I don't think I watched it again until all that stuff about how you know, the gay readings into it go, and then I watched it again. I'm like, oh, how did I not see this?
There's a gym teacher.
I was so naive. Yeah,
a leather daddy gym teacher gets whipped to death by towels. But my absolute favorite part, and it's such a trope in the slasher film, it's, you know, it's the fight, because in this movie it's not a final girl, it's a final boy, which flips that all. But it's that scene where, you know, usually, you know, the male interest of for the final girl is saying, "Oh, come stay with me tonight, I'll protect you." Instead, he has, like, you know, the cute, approachable, hot chick of the story is saying, "Stay here with me," and he goes, "No, I gotta go stay with my best friend," and stays in his room. And at that moment, it's like, oh my goodness, they're gonna bang, aren't they? They should. It would have been so good. If they had just like fully gone for it, it would have been incredible. But ultimately, I think a lot of people crap on that movie, but I think the only truly bad part of it, for me at least, is Freddy being taken out into the real world for the final pool scene. Yeah. Because suddenly, even before all that, like, Freddy's just torturing the shit out of this kid the entire movie, and it's pretty fucked up. And then all of a sudden, he's taken out into the real world, and it's like, oh, it's this scrotum-looking guy with knives on his fingers chasing around kids, and there's fire.
The thing was that he came into the real world. It was like he was possessing that guy. I don't know, but that's the thing though, is that it was the first sequel, so they had a bit of a base in the first one. But I feel like every slasher franchise that goes this long has this type of movie. Like Halloween has Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. Friday the 13th has Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. So it's like this is the red-haired child of the franchise.
For me personally, I would say it's one of the later Halloween movies where they've really got way too into that Celtic cult thing.
Oh yeah,
I think
Part 6.
Paul Rudd.
I think that one was for me at least, was the red child. The producer's cut is a little better, but still, it's like you're really gonna have Michael Myers hang up his mask and replace it with a fucking hat and cloak. Like, you trying to turn him into Jack the Ripper or something? Like, I don't understand what's happening here. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, is that it's surprising that Freddy survived Nightmare on Elm Street 2, but it's also not. Going back and rewatching Dream Warriors not too long ago, that movie is like way too good for a horror sequel. Like, I'd even say, for me personally, I like it a bit more than Craven's Nightmare movies.
Well, he did co-write the script.
With Frank Darabont, right? I think Frank Darabont was involved with the making of that one, too.
He was. And Chuck Russell directed that, and then they teamed up again for the Blob remake. But yeah, Wes Craven did co-write the script for Dream Warriors. Nice. And yeah, no, just like, I love Dream Warriors because I feel like it really captured dream logic and applied that through the Nightmare on Elm Street style, and which is why I think Dream Warriors did a better job of portraying the dream world than something like Inception. Yep. Okay, so with Friday the 13th coming up, the main topic for this week, going off of slashers, is probably, as we discussed, one of the most iconic slashers of them all, Friday the 13th, with everybody's favorite, Jason Voorhees.
We should probably say that we're going to assume that you've seen all of the Friday the 13th movies, because we're going to spoil them during this discussion.
Oh, hell yeah, we're spoiling.
So if you have a problem with that, I don't know, fast forward to the end when we start wrapping up, because we're probably going to say things like Roy is the killer in 5. You know?
Yeah, we're taking a deep dive into the Friday the 13th mythology, so if you haven't seen these decades-old movies, just brace yourself.
Right.
I actually really like the Platinum Dunes Friday the 13th remake from 2009.
It was okay for me. It was it's definitely, I mean, it's I mean, I know that Korea and I disagree on this, but it I don't think it was as good as the Texas Chainsaw remake that was from 2003. But it was a hell of a lot better than that horrible Nightmare on Elm Street one.
Ooh.
I'll give it that. My opinion on the Friday the 13th remake was just very simply, it is the movie that you think about when someone goes, "Have you seen a Friday the 13th movie?" It is that. It's like if they took everything that people think a Friday the 13th movie is without actually thinking of a specific Friday the 13th movie, and they made that. That's what it was. So there was a lot of boobs, there's a lot of killing. For me, it's just those characters were just way too unlikable, like to the point where it was annoying to see them. It went beyond cheering when they were killed. It was just like, oh, thank God I don't have to deal with them anymore. And if you don't have at least a couple of likable characters, it's hard to really be in it, because at that point you're just waiting for the and Jason to come up and just murder the fuck out of people.
Oh, just wait until you see Truth or Dare.
I refuse to. I refuse to see Truth or Dare.
Talk unlikable characters, but hey, that was like an hour ago. We're talking about Friday the 13th now.
Yeah. But no, I really enjoyed it just because of that, because it was a pure distillation of the Friday the 13th franchise, and like basically got all the good bits together. And I'm a big fan of Derek Mears' Jason in that movie. Like, I think he did a really good job, especially the transition, because the whole thing was that he starts off with the bag head, like from part 2, and then we kind of see him keep going, and then he finds a hockey mask.
Right.
Yeah. So it's actually a remake of 2 and 3. It's not a remake. It's not a Friday the 13th remake.
Yeah, I guess it'd be more fair to call it a reboot, just because the continuity and everything with Friday the 13th up to that point was just over the top, because the movie before that, well, I guess technically that would have, let's see, was it Freddy vs. Jason or Jason X?
Freddy vs. Jason was after Jason X.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But either way, it's kind of hard. It would be kind of hard to work off of either of those movies. So, honestly, I feel like rebooting at that point was probably a better decision.
No, totally.
And yeah, and they made living Jason work again. Like, Jason wasn't a ghoul in this; he was just a big, scary dude who lived in the woods.
Yeah, which is awesome, especially after that franchise really went bonkers for a bit. You had Jason in space, Jason in hell, Jason fighting a telepathic, not Carrie.
Jason versus Carrie.
Yeah. No, but it's not Carrie.
I love Jason versus Carrie.
It's not Carrie, but it's totally Carrie.
Yeah.
That final fight scene was pretty awesome when she chains him back at the bottom of the ocean. I always did appreciate that quite a bit.
Well, doesn't she summon her dead dad?
Yeah,
she reanimates her dead dad to come help her defeat. That one goes off the rails a little bit.
Yeah, although
it's totally awesome though. That's a compliment. It goes off the rails. It's totally awesome.
Yeah, I love the sequence where she drops the house on Jason, and Jason's played by Kane Hodder in this one. And I was actually at the anniversary screening a bit ago, and they were talking about how Kane Hodder actually took that hit. Like, they let him drop like a canopy on him, and he just because he thought that'd be a great stunt, so they let him drop the freaking canopy on him.
It was very Buster Keaton of them to do that, have the house drop on them, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's a lot of faith on Kane's part to you have to trust everybody on that set to have something like that.
Oh yeah, they did the similar stunt in Jackass 3, I believe, with having the house fall, and it actually did land on Johnny Knoxville the first time. And very simply, if you don't time something like that right, you could easily break your back or die.
Oof. But getting focusing. So I guess I don't know. I guess let's talk about our favorite entries in the franchise and why.
Yeah. James, you want to go first?
Well, my favorite, and this is hard to pick for me, but I think today, as I sit here right now, I think part 4. Because part 4, the final chapter, that's the one you get. You not only have, the kids in the woods, but you've also got, little Corey Feldman and his family.
And Crispin Glover.
And, Crispin Glover dancing it Back in Black, but not dancing it Back in Black.
Yep.
That one's actually my favorite because the Jason mythology has already been established. So when you see the guy in the hockey mask, there's Jason, but it also had not yet got, he wasn't yet superhuman yet. This is pre-Roy and pre-Jason Live. He hadn't, he actually dies at the end of part 4, which, lets Roy pick up the machete in part 5. But I think part 4 for me is just the most well-rounded of the movies. It's the beginning to end. I think it's the most well-rounded of them.
I was just gonna say I love the Tommy Jarvis trilogy of just
same here.
Of just even the Roy one. There were as ridiculous as it was, and it's kind of like a fuck you a bit that it wasn't actually Jason. But even so, like, that movie still fleshed out what it's like to have survived something like that, and you have a character who's suffering from PTSD and everything that's going. Plus, I'm sorry, I just love that guy with the chocolate bar. You want a piece of my chocolate?
That poor kid.
Once you know that it's not Jason in part 5, once you see it the first time and it's obvious. Not only is the mask different, but his mannerisms are different. He's weaker than Jason. It's when you watch it a second time, knowing the ending, you're like, why didn't I notice all this before? Because you weren't looking. You were looking for Jason killing people. You weren't, looking for his weaknesses.
And going off of part 4, I got the recent Blu-ray set of the original 8 Paramount movies, and one of the special features was commentary with Adam Green and Joe Lynch, and they had a very interesting comment on like the beginning of the movie where it's, you know, after part 3 and like the cops are cleaning up the messes, and it has like this really great shot of all the all the ambulances and cops stuff are pulling out from the farmhouse where the massacre in 3 happened, and then it just lingers on Crystal Lake, like, and it's all dark and foreboding, and they were talking about how, you know, that's one of the most genuinely unsettling or creepy clips in the or scenes in the franchise, and I agree, you know, because like especially up to the point, you know, it's, you know, like, it wasn't really so much about I don't know, that kind of scares, but yeah, you know, just like 4, I think, also really utilized the environment well to make it scary.
So is 4 your favorite? Which is your favorite?
Oh yeah, I was about to say, personally, I'd have to say part 6 is probably my favorite, Jason Lives, just because and to clarify, it's the 3rd and final movie in the Tommy Jarvis trilogy, and it's also when Jason comes back from the dead as like a ghoul and is even more powerful.
And it's the only one that stars Arnold Horshack.
Yep.
Oh.
It doesn't really star him. He's Tommy's friend at the beginning, and they both get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Well, that's also the one with the RV shot, right? Where they flip the RV and he comes out on top, right? I believe.
Is it? So is that the one with the Alice Cooper?
That's I believe it's either
the Alice Cooper soundtrack.
I believe so. Someone's going to correct me if I'm wrong. It's either that or part 7.
I think it's part 6. I think it's Jason Lived, because the big song was "He's Back."
Yeah,
the man behind the mask.
Oh yeah, and that music video is fantastic.
Kind of like why I like you know, the Friday the 13th reboot, is that it really distilled a lot of what so great and fun about the franchise. Like, Jason comes back, he gets a lot of great kills in, and Tommy Jarvis is his formidable arch enemy in this. So there's kind of a I'm not sure anybody's ever done this comparison, a Moby Dick thing, where it's like he's where Tommy is Captain Ahab and Jason's the White Whale. Is that for revenge? So, I just feel like there's a lot of great stuff to it. And also, I got to go to a great screening of Friday the 13th Part 6 at Cinefamily a few years back, where they actually had a dude dressed as Jason walk through the audience. So that was a pretty great experience.
What's your favorite, Korea?
It would definitely, I'm going to have to go with part 4 as well. Like the later ones, you know, Jason versus Carrie, a lot of fun. Even Jason X, I had a lot of fun with. But ultimately,
Jason versus
I think part 4 is probably the most rounded, just with the mythology. And Tom Savini came up with one of the best kills. I mean, he was the one that essentially created Jason and his image and everything. So the fact that they gave him full, you know, creative rights to create Jason's death, and he went, we're going to kill him by his own machete. Spoiler alert. I thought that was gnarly.
Oh, yeah.
And awesome.
Yeah, and it's one of the grossest kills in the franchise, in my opinion. Just the slow slide and his deformed face. It just I can remember it so vividly.
It had to be. It's Jason's death.
And and Tommy does not give up. Tommy's, you know, right at the end when he sees him twitch, so he just stops, you know.
Yeah, die.
Good job, Fordman.
Let's wrap this up, because Korea's got ninja to do. But just one more thing that we need to talk about Friday the 13th is the original Friday the 13th has the quintessential, which is actually often imitated but never duplicated, final scene jump scare.
Yeah.
The most legendary ever. And you guys know the first time you saw it, it got you. It totally got me. There's no way even if you know it's coming, there's no way to not be gotten by that final jump scare.
Oh, yeah.
So
I remember the first time I watched it, I was in the back seat of my parents' car watching it on a portable DVD player, and I jumped. I was like, I'm getting really creeped out, and then all of a sudden this thing jumps out. I jumped up, and my parents were like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
It's so quiet and serene, and you think it's over, and she's floating on this calm lake, and all of a sudden, you know, so. All right, let's get out of here. And for a bit, let's just give a little bit of credit. That awesome opening theme song once again is DMP,
Death Metal Pope.
So go rock with them. Yeah, Death Metal Pope. Our artwork is Chris Fisher, and everything else we do is iHorror.com. That's where you can find pretty much all three of us. That's where we all call home, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'm James J. Edwards.
I'm Jacob Davison.
I'm Jonathan Correa.
Keep your eye on horror. We'll see you next time.